What is going on, guys? My name is Jack McNeil of BaseballCentral.com. Stick with us. Next week, we'll be in Nashville covering the winter meetings. Myself, Nick Hamlin, Jeff Snyder, and Robert Murray, all of Baseball Essential. So if you have any questions, send us to @Baseball Central on Twitter or Jack McNeil44 on Twitter or on the YouTube comment section. All work, all are ways to get a hold of us. So let's start with the Chicago Cubs. Going into this week and in Nashville, what to expect here? They're at an interesting point in the offseason because while the hot stove has been pretty quiet so far outside of notable signing Jordan Zimmerman, I think it's going to pick up very quickly. And the Chicago Cubs went in, one of their objectives going into this offseason has been to deepen their bullpen, and they have done that so far by acquiring Rex Brothers from the Colorado Rockies and claiming Jack Leathersich off the New York Mets. Now, moving on to where they're at right now, because not to suggest they're done in that area either, but they're in a position where last offseason they needed someone like John Lester, someone who could be a team leader and a veteran, someone who they're going to outbid every other team to get. And they got him. And they surprised people, and they went straight from a mid-level team to competing after adding Joe Madden and John Lester and a few others. They now have the young nucleus and enough veteran talent as well as, in my mind, the best manager in the game of baseball. And they got to a high 90s win team and beat out the St. Louis Cardinals, who had the best record in baseball, in the playoffs. So they were not expected to make the playoffs last year, and they did. And now it's sort of a situation where you don't want to digress. You only want to get better, but the ceiling to get better is pretty thin because they had such a phenomenal year last year. So what do they need to do this season? There's kind of confliction here between, do you go the direction of signing the 26-year-old outfielder Jason Heyward, right? Someone who will cost a lot of money but will probably be a better fit or a bargain. Not necessarily a bargain, but will probably be worth more money since he's younger than someone who is a 30, 32-year-old pitcher. And I think that's the main question is, do you go out and are you able to afford a big name pitcher and Jason Heyward, or are you only able to kind of put all your chips in on Jason Heyward? And do you go for the 26-year-old, the guy who doesn't have a ton of power but is the best right field defensively in the game and has this top WAR that people are like, wait, he's really this good? Do you go for that guy on a long-term deal, being 26 right now, or do you go for the starting pitcher who's 29 or 32 and commit on a long-term deal as well? And I think that's where the Chicago Cubs could get creative. Their general manager said that to fit even a big-name free agent, they would have to get creative, let alone this idea that they could sign Heyward and they could sign Greinke or they could sign Price. So I think they will have to go one way or the other. Now, it doesn't mean that they cannot get a mid-level starter, a John Lackey type, maybe a Jeff Samardzija, and then push the budgetary strains and get someone like Jason Heyward because they are making a lot of money. The ownership, if they convince this is a right move for the club, would I think could probably push out these contracts. That being said, the Chicago Cubs in the past have been hurt by these long-term deals, so I think they are going ahead cautiously. Last offseason, they made the move for Lester. I don't see them going out this offseason and saying, we have all this young talent, we have all the potential in the world, let's go out and outbid every team and get the older guy on a 5 or 6 year deal. I think they're going to be a little more selective. If they're going to go for Price, they're going to go all the way for Price. But I don't see an offseason where they could get Price and Heyward. If they wanted to get Heyward, maybe a mid-level starter. But again, I am not a Cubs fan. I'm not spending every day covering the Cubs. From what I've seen and read, it seems like the Cubs may have to choose one or the other or get creative. Whether that means trading some guys, moving some salary around, that's another question. But let me know what you think, especially if you're a Cubs fan. Do you think the Cubs should go after the Jason Heyward and a mid-level starter? Do you think they can trade a Starlin Castro? Should they go after Ben Zobrist? What direction do you want to see the Cubs headed this offseason? Thanks for watching. Jack McNeil of Baseball Central.